I'm Jeff. I'm Bobby. He's a man of few words. And we're going to talk now about the future of mass customization. And later, we're going to broaden that. We're saving our good material, I got to say, for our event in a few hours. So hope you RSVP'd to that, and we see you there. So Bobby, want to kick things off, and I'll chime in.
Well, I just wanted to echo Jeff's points. It's a thrill for us to be here. It's sort of a funny thing thinking about two nerds starting a company about 10 years ago out of Stanford, and now to be here with such wonderful company, presuming to tell you anything about anything is sort of surreal. But we're going to try. I think what we're going to stick to is what we know best, and that's the story of Zazzle and what's helped make us successful, and then maybe take a few leaps of faith and extrapolate about what might be successful for the general theme of mass customization going forward.
It sounds like a plan. And I must say, now that the professor has jabbed us about the second school in the Bay Area or California, just looking forward to this weekend. Hope you tune in for that. All right, so the future of mass customization. Do I have a thingy? Yes, I do. Let's kick things off. So, the future is at 7 p.m. We're going to go back to the future at 7, and we're going to tell you all about some future plans, give you a glimpse into what we think the future is going to look like, not only of mass customization, but of commerce at large. Okay? But now, presumably, everybody here has a vested interest in mass customization specifically, and that's what we're going to talk about. Okay, so the high-level agenda. A few topics here. We believe the future of mass customization is an ecosystem of players, and the professor touched on this already. The future is most definitely global. Over 86% of all internet users are outside of the United States, and global is a huge focus for us as a company, and it should be for anybody in the customization space. The future is definitely technology-driven. I see some of our best and brightest up in front, and Bobby leads that team at Zazzle. The future is real-time. Just like digital media and information, it is now, and we have to be able to react to people's instantaneous changing demands, desires, and needs. The future is touch. I'm a huge believer in touch. You're going to see a lot of touch later tonight. Don't interpret that the wrong way. The future is eco-friendly. Hurrah! One of the best benefits of mass customization and local production is that it's great for the environment, and this is one of the things we're really passionate about at Zazzle and for customization at large. So if you haven't heard of Zazzle, then we failed miserably. Hopefully you have. I'm not going to ask for a raise of hands because I'm a little afraid. I know we have a lot of global visitors. But you're in our backyard. Zazzle is a local company. And our vision is to redefine commerce powered by the world's imagination. It's a little vague on purpose because we don't want to be limited to any sort of generational technology or otherwise. We just believe it's a good thing if we can tap the world's imagination and everybody's unique creativity. That's where we want to be. That's what our company is all about.
So what the hell does that mean? That means that we have a company about 10, 15 miles down south from here. We're about 1,000 employees strong, headquartered in the city, with manufacturing actually local. A lot of you might be taking a double take at that stat, but we manufacture right here in California, right close to the San Jose airport. It's critical for us to be able to do that because it's so important to iterate on the actual products, the technologies, the processes to enable mass customization. We'll want to keep it close to home, near engineering, near product. For us, this is just the beginning of a very long journey, and that's why manufacturing's got to stay here. Ultimately, we imagine this being distributed all over the globe, but for now, we're very proud to be manufacturing in California.
Okay, the product stuff. So we're going to talk about the ecosystem a little bit later, but already Zazzle has over 4,000 individual SKUs that you can customize. That's the most granular unit of customization for us, which is representative over about 50 categories or product lines, from apparel to shoes and footwear to skateboards and hard products to printed goods and lots more to come. And kind of a staggering statistic, we have over 83 million designs, products that have been designed by our community and by our customers today, and that's growing at an alarming rate.
So if you guys haven't figured it out already, Jeff's sort of the showman and the product guy, a little bit of the sales guy, the two of us. I'm the technology guy, the propeller head, at least between the two of us. And actually, Zazzle's a lot of things. We have extraordinary people with all sorts of different talents, but at our core, our spirit, we think of ourselves as a technology company to enable the potential of mass customization. So we have a team, an extraordinary team, we think, of all sorts of scientists and technologists, specialists in different fields to help enable technology on Zazzle. And I'll highlight some of these throughout the talk. A couple of the key points to bring up here is, for us, visualization is one of our real strengths. It's something that we decided to go deep on at the very beginning of the company. It's so critical to be able to bridge that gap between something that's virtual and then something that people can perceive as actually existing. I'll go into that a little bit more later. For us, part of the technology challenge is the fact that anything that you buy on Zazzle is not sitting on a shelf somewhere. We literally make it on demand as soon as it's purchased. The whole company is on demand. And for 95+% of the products that we ship, they're shipped within 24 hours. So for all those 4,000 plus SKUs that Jeff was talking about and the 83 million designs, we need to be able to make that thing in less than 24 hours. The site itself is a platform about real time, and that's a real hard problem given the scale that we're at right now. There is no image that you see on Zazzle outside the marketing copy that is cached somewhere. It's literally generated on the fly. So as you choose that shirt and the design that you want to see it, and the size that you want to see it, and the model that you want to see it on, that's rendered for the first time just for you, and we need to do that very, very quickly. So a lot of our technology is about enabling this on-demand sort of catering to the actual user and consumer on the site. And to give you some impression of scale, because everything's so dynamic, we're pulling on, at peak times, over 250,000 data queries a second. Which is a lot. It's a really hard problem, and we think we're just at the beginning of this technology, but it's already taken us quite far. All right. Well, Bobby's already nagged me about being a product guy. He's a closet product guy too. He does a lot of research before he buys his fancy shirts. So we've gotten some buzz. We actually don't have a PR person at Zazzle. Who would have thunk? But we're lucky enough to get mentioned here and there, and most recently we're proud of this, being on the Colbert Report, where Colbert created a stamp, a Zazzle stamp, commemorating kind of the issues the United States Postal Service is undergoing right now, which was kind of fun. So I'll kick this thing off. Bobby will chime in. So the future is an ecosystem. And we think Zazzle is probably a pretty good proxy for anybody to think about, maybe what the ecosystem at large could look like. This is dramatically oversimplified. There are a lot of other players and individuals who play a part in this. But this is kind of what Zazzle's ecosystem looks like today. We have a marketplace that is the result of these three major constituents. And we're going to talk about the marketplace right now. So Zazzle's pretty big. I mean, we talked about a little bit of the scale in terms of personnel earlier. This holiday season, we expect to hit something like 24 million unique visitors per month. That's a lot of people. As Jeff talked about earlier, we have 83 million plus products in the site that's growing at a pretty amazing clip. So believe it or not, over 100,000 new product designs are entered into Zazzle every single day, and those designs come from all over the globe. We have users literally in every nook and cranny. Again, back to the scale issue, for us, we need to be able to keep the site up. We need to be able to keep people, allow them to do a lot of really interactive design, visualization all at the same time. Yeah, so we're pretty big. All right, content. So one of the things years ago when we started Zazzle, we realized was, well, hey, how is anybody going to believe us? We're just a few guys in a converted car garage making shirts and some posters, and they're really great, but how can we convince people that this is legitimate, that customization is real, and you can get something at a high quality really fast? And so we believed that we needed to attract the biggest and best content brands of the world, and we've been very successful at that to date.
Content brands are a major part of the ecosystem, and it's really everybody as big as the Disneys and Hasbros and Hallmarks and Capcoms of the world, all the way down to professionals and amateurs and cutting-edge contemporary artists. These folks are essential to this ecosystem of customization because they use the design tools, configurators to make relevant topical product that then gets distributed across the globe. Next, products. So one of the things we've been doing over the last few years, and really this conference has been really serendipitous for this initiative, it's Zazzle, meeting folks who want to get into customization or already have customization capabilities to plug into our platform. And we've got numerous partnerships here. We're announcing a few exciting new ones tonight. Everything from Fujifilm, which is photo-based products, to KEDs and ProKEDs, the first ever fully customizable cut and sewn shoe, spec and casemate with electronics cases, Avery custom binders, Planet Jill jewelry, Org audio speakers, and many, many, many more to come. And I already touched on this a little bit, but sellers are critical in the ecosystem. We have roughly 1 million sellers total globally, 10,000 of which we call our professional sellers or pro sellers. And these are folks, many of whom actually use Zazzle for full-time income. And we get stories every week where people are quitting their day jobs at Walmart and otherwise and focusing on designing products for a particular niche or to serve a particular need that isn't serviced by mass-produced big box retailers. And we're really proud of the fact that, although our finance team might not be, that we're paying out millions of dollars every single month to these sellers. It's going right out the door. And I love that number. I want to see that grow tenfold and 100-fold over the coming years. We think that's entirely possible. So it's a really legitimate way for people to leverage customization and make this ecosystem really work on Zazzle and off of Zazzle. So we would encourage everybody to tap and harness the creative power of individuals across the internet.
So the future is global. It's probably worth mentioning, it occurs to me now that for those of you not familiar with Zazzle, none of this makes any sense. So the brief background is that Zazzle is, as we talked about, a technology company that allows for the mass customization of all sorts of different kinds of products, either that we'll manufacture or that we'll work with partners to manufacture. We have a marketplace that allows sellers to come in and create designs for those products. So that's where the 100,000 plus product designs are coming from every day. That's where we're seeing a lot of the diversity in the sorts of content and the sorts of users that are coming to Zazzle. And one of the big growth engines for all those numbers has been international. About 2 years ago, we figured out that, hey, this isn't just a US-only trend. We're seeing a lot of interest inbound from all over the world. I understand many of you are from international locations. So we really sort of doubled down from a technology standpoint to figure out how we can make Zazzle a global platform. Today, 2 years later, we operate 17 different international websites. Those are completely localized to each one of those domains. We ship to just about every country that the USPS or UPS will allow us to. And believe it or not, the distribution curve is pretty flat. I mean, we're shipping to just about everywhere. We're seeing this interest in custom, unique content from every part of the globe. And again, back to the seller's point, we're seeing people interested in this platform, sharing their creativity, trying to be entrepreneurs on Zazzle from everywhere. And some of our biggest and largest success stories are from non-US areas. We see people interested in Africa. So we see people in South America. We see tons of people from Western Europe and in Australia and New Zealand.
So we wanted to touch on this a little bit because we really just fundamentally believe that international and globalism is really important for customization and commerce at large. And having an effective strategy for that is really essential to be successful. So back in 2008, we did recognize now it's 86.5% of all internet users are outside the US. And European and Asian e-commerce sales were really projected to grow at rapid CAGRs, much faster than the United States in many areas. So demand was strong. We actually had a lot of traffic, but our conversion rates for these international visitors were 1/10 that of folks coming from the United States. That makes sense intuitively, right? But it was a pretty staggeringly low number because I think a lot of people assume, hey, well, the internet's in English and that's good enough. Definitely not the case. Everybody had to view the site in English. Pricing was only in US dollars. Customs delays contributed to really long shipping times. And there was really no strategy for import duties and taxes, so customers would get hit with additional charges when they had to receive their items.
So, recognizing all that, we embarked on the rather long process of globalizing Zazzle. Some of you guys might be familiar with these terms. The first step for us was internationalization. The nerdy way to express that is I-18N, 18 being the number of letters that you cut out of that big word. And really what internationalization is about is taking this platform, which we had built for .com and US only, and converting it all to Unicode, basically preparing every data structure in the system, every concept in the system into one that could be catered specifically to one domain. Stands to reason that a company all about mass customization would want each one of its international domains to be very particular and relevant and focused on that domain. So we needed to initially go through the platform and get it ready. The second step, localization, same trick with the acronym there. And this was a bigger, larger company effort to do a handful of things that were very difficult for us to do. The first part was to bring in people that really knew about all these different domains, all these different languages, all these different cultures, and get them in-house so they could act as marketing agents, customer support agents, promotion agents. The second was to use them and outside firms to translate all the sort of static strings in the system. By strings, I mean the text on the site, the graphics, that sort of stuff. It all had to be converted to Swedish or Japanese or Spanish or whatever. And then really one of the larger challenges for Zazzle was that we're getting 100,000 products a day. All of those products are uniquely described by users out there that don't speak all these different languages. So we needed to build systems that could dynamically translate mountains and mountains of data in real time. So if somebody in Dubuque puts a product up on Zazzle and describes it in a couple paragraphs, that'll go into the system. It'll get translated into 16 or 17 different languages so that when it's pushed into the index for each of the different respective domains, it's right there in a familiar language to each one of those locales, and vice versa. So if somebody's contributing something from Japan, we're translating it to French, we're translating it to Spanish, and so on. Of course, everything had to be in a local currency, and we had to figure out how to manage all that. And there's a huge amount of just logistical work that we needed to do to get bulk shipments over to different parts of the world so that we could represent a fully contextual site from almost anywhere. So if you're ordering from France, you're going to see a site in French. It's going to talk about French holidays and events and whatnot, and you're going to be able to order product, get it there quickly for reasonable shipping costs and in a currency that you understand. It was a huge effort. It's paid huge dividends. I know everybody here is from different sorts of backgrounds, but our experience with this has been really extraordinary, and the stats speak for themselves. Just 2 years ago, 3% of our revenue was international. Now it's over 20%, and it's growing 50% year over year. That's an important note, especially because the overall of Zazzle's revenue is also growing, right? So the rate at which international is growing is pretty spectacular. This is an example of Zazzle site translated to Korean. This is one of our most recent domain. And you can see literally everything here from text to the layout of the page, to the imagery, to the promotions. This is all specifically for Korean. And it's something we're really proud of. I mean, we have a long way to go. Eventually, we want to have people in all these different countries that are able to do a much better job than we are from here in California of marketing the Zazzle site. But this is a big step forward, and it's really allowing for the mixing of ideas from all over the globe, which is, I think, another key movement in mass customization, is getting people from all sorts of different areas working together creatively to create product.
Exactly, and people from different cultures can experience what's topical in other parts of the world with the product, not just information. And that's just spectacular, and we're happy to be a part of that in a small way. This is definitely still your domain, buddy.
Yeah, so, well, probably before I go on, you picking on my shirt, I should mention, clearly Jeff is from the future. Have you guys seen these pants?
These are my future pants. I brought them out specifically for the night's event, and I'll never wear them again.
So I'll try to speed through this stuff. You know, the technology is near and dear to my heart, and I'm sure I could put everyone here to sleep just talking about it. But for us, technology starts with the actual product. And so we've spent a lot of time building the teams and the technologies to really understand how product is made, how to first tackle the issues of making something on demand in quantities of just one at an efficient price. And so we employ, you know, chemists, we employ people that are experts in printing technologies, all sorts of people that figure out, experts in inventory systems, getting people together to figure out how we can produce retail quality product in quantities of one in just 24 hours and get it to the customer in a way that's intuitive and ultimately delightful. This is one snapshot of our technology stack. I won't, you know, pain any of you by walking through this, but on top of all of that hardware and the investment we've made there, there's a huge software platform that we're continuing to develop. It's all services-oriented architecture, which should please the professors. This is some of the things that we do with it. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the big, arguably one of our first largest challenges was bridging that gap between a virtual product, something that doesn't exist, and something that the consumer can understand, that they can touch, they can feel, and they can go ahead and make that leap online to purchase it. And so we invested 5-6 years ago in some brilliant people and a team in a field called computational photography. And the concept behind computational photography is you're taking high quality technical photography of product and you're combining that with other information like surface information, 3D models, etc., in order to enable the real-time customization and visualization of this stuff. So this is an example of a CAD shoe that you can buy on the site right now. We work closely with CADs to figure out how to enable this product to actually get manufactured in their facilities. But once that had been figured out, we sort of disassembled this whole thing into the 7 different areas that users on the site can design on, figured out all the different constraints about what colors can be where and what the thread colors would be and all the different options and so forth. And then we had to figure out how to render product onto those, or render design into those different areas concomitantly very, very quickly. So in this particular example, this is from the early days of testing. We're able to render 2 million pixels on demand for a completely customized design in 32 milliseconds, which is no small feat. And in addition to the amazing software that runs, we have a top-notch team that's developed the hardware to enable this sort of thing to happen. It's actually very similar to some of the rendering frameworks used for 3D animation films like DreamWorks and Pixar and so forth. Later tonight, we should be, unless there are major bugs, launching something that we are very, very excited about. And we have this man right down here to thank, Young Harville. He and his team and some of the rest of the Zazzle engineers figured out how to bring custom product into your home. This is a powerful thing, something that we're really excited about. We've seen stuff like this from consumer electronics companies like Samsung and Sony, but to our knowledge, no one's done it for user-generated product before. And basically the way it works is we're selling prints and wrap canvas and custom framing and so forth on Zazzle. Later tonight, you'll be able to go to one of those wrap canvas product pages, click on a button, print out a marker sheet on your own home printer, and tape it to a wall where you might want to see that wrap canvas. So you photograph that marker exactly how you want to visualize it, upload it to the site. Instantaneously, the software will scan the image, will identify the marker. Even despite all the commotion that might be in the photograph, it's extremely accurate, it's very fast. It'll find that marker and immediately it'll characterize the geometry of the space and the lighting of the space. Once we know that, because we have three-dimensional models for the prints, the wrap canvas, the frames, etc., we can render in very high detail exactly what that product is going to look like. This sort of thing is just the beginning. We want to introduce product into people's own worlds, and we really are thinking farther and farther ahead about how to bridge that gap and getting people to think about this product as being real, getting them to think about how to immerse themselves in custom product. And so we're really excited about this. Encourage you guys to try it out at some time. This is an example of how it might look after you put the marker on your wall and you photographed it. You can do it from any angle. This isn't like I got to take it straight on. It'll actually render out in Z with Z perspective. It's really neat stuff.
It's cool. It's very, very cool. And again, stepping stone for us to do all sorts of other products in 3D space, from furniture to anything you can imagine. So the future is real time. I'm going to speed up a little bit. I know Frank wants to keep us on the schedule. Real time is everything, right? One really simplified, non-academic way, and the professor's leaving, good, to think about technologies, it just speeds everything up, right? Like, it just compresses the time from which you either get a product or a piece of information or a type of media. Think about mail, snail mail. Man, that really sucked, right? That took forever. Email was a little bit better, right? You know, instead of weeks or months from snail mail, it would take maybe hours, minutes if you're really checking often. Think about Twitter and Facebook, right, is that you can actually get a message across to not just one, but thousands of people, and instantaneously they'll get an alert of something that might be meaningful to them. It's really about becoming real time with your information, with your media, right? The same is true. Now we're going to go from digital to physical with product, right? With mass production and big box retailing, you got to guess 9 months ahead of time or a year, hey, what's going to be hot? Or let's just decide what's going to be hot and tell people that's what's hot. And it's really, you know, not great. These guys, right, the retailers started figuring out, well, geez, being a little bit faster might be a good idea. Some celebrity might wear some crazy zebra print. We got to have that as soon as possible. So shortening that turnaround time and being able to replenish inventory with topical, relevant product has become a successful strategy. What's better than that? I'm not saying Zazzle is the holy grail, but it's a piece of it. It's the next level where, hey, not just maybe this month Zara or H&M has a collection that's, you know, most relevant to the season's fashions, but today, like tomorrow, you could have something that might be noteworthy or newsworthy based on anything that has happened in current events. And the same was true with tailored fashions back in the day with bespoke and hand-tailored, you know, apparel. This happening with Nike ID and with programs that we're powering with product partners like Keds Shoes. Touch. I don't know why I mentioned that for this evening, but we are going to show you some touch experiences. You won't be touched, except maybe emotionally, I hope. I really deeply hope that. But really believe, as I guess the product guy here, I believe in touch. I personally believe, I have no evidence or background information to prove this, but I think specifically for customization, touch experiences will be an order of magnitude better for customization than anything else. When you can directly manipulate the object that will be made for you with your fingertips, whether that's on a tablet or otherwise, that makes customization not just utility, hey, I need to get this thing made, to a lifestyle, to an experience where you're changing things around you. And it's intuitive. And so here's a little bit of a sneak peek of some content we've been creating, really focused on touch. How do we really offer a glimpse into the future of what touch could look like with customization? I'm not going to explain any of this. You'll have to attend tonight's evening to see what I'm talking about. This is the power of customization, right? With mass-produced items, you can walk down a shelf and pick out something and try it on, whatever. But why couldn't you create your own reality? Why can't you make anything your own? You can. And we can all do that together as an industry and as an ecosystem. And we'll touch on that more later. Lastly, I do want to point out, and we can tag team this, really passionate about the fact that Customization does lend itself to local production and quick turnarounds. And we really believe that it has the promise of revitalizing a domestic manufacturing industry. Why? Because again, in the real-time world we live in, right, your proximity as a supplier or manufacturer to the end consumer becomes a competitive edge. If you're right next door to the consumer, you can offer them something that's faster and more relevant than getting something made all across the world in gigantic quantities, right? Why is that better for the environment? Well, geez, there's less freight. There's less logistics costs. There's less shipping pollution. And perhaps the best thing from a business model standpoint for mass customization is that we don't make stuff until it's ordered, right? So there isn't really any inventory risk. And there is no wastage that ends up in landfills. The combination of all this means that less logistics costs, reduce inventory risk, reduce wastage, local production. You can have a lot of profit margin as a local manufacturer of customized goods. And as a result of that, you can afford to pay higher wages domestically than you would have to, in a lower, lowest common denominator approach overseas. You can actually afford to do that here. So really, as the professor mentioned, this is about economies of scope. Local manufacturers that can actually provide a lot of different things, customized or not, quickly to consumers to react to their changing needs is a really great story from a business model standpoint and from a planet standpoint, and making it a greener place for all of us.
Yeah.
He agrees. I sped that up, right? Frank, it's the last slide. I did it.